My name is Ann Macy, and I'm a professor of finance in the Engler College of Business. And joining me today is Stanley Schaeffer, an outstanding alum and donor and all-around awesome individual. So, Mr. Schaeffer, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So we're going to start off, and why don't you tell us just a little bit about like where you grew up and, just a little bit about your beginnings.
Well, I grew up pretty close to here. Was born and raised in Happy, Texas. So I went to attended school at Happy, Texas for the first 5 grades. Then we moved into Canyon, and I transferred to the Canyon School District.
So you're a Canyon High graduate?
Yes, I'm a Canyon High graduate of 1951.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. And so from there, you then decided to come to WT. What made you decide to go to WT?
This is kind of a long story, but I met Geneva in the 6th grade. She had attended the West Texas Training School through the first 5 grades, school on the campus, the old education building, they call it now. She had attended the first 5 grades at that school and then transferred to Canyon the same year that I did. So actually I sat behind her in the 6th grade, and that's where we met.
All right.
So
was it love at first sight in 6th grade? That must have freaked your parents out.
Well, I guess it was. Yes, it actually was. We became attracted to each other in the 6th grade. But actually our first date was not until we were freshmen, and I asked her if she would go with me to the midnight show, January the 1st, 1948.
All right.
And she did.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Do you remember what was playing?
It was a movie with Sid Charisse, who, by the way, is from Amarillo. Mm-hmm. And you caught me off guard.
That's all right.
I forgot the name of it.
That's all right.
But,
and so clearly the date went well.
The date, well, it probably went well for her. I tried to put the move on her, but she had nothing to do with it,
Wow, that sounds like Geneva.
So I didn't get very far, but it was fun. Yes.
That's great. So, what was Canyon like back then?
Canyon, is, in a lot of ways, is similar to what it is like today. I mean, it's changed some, but kind of the small town feel, the hometown feel, the comfortable feel, that friendly people, and of course the reason what I was getting at, the love for WT came from the fact that she attended the training school here, and so she developed a deep love for WT in that respect. She actually had college professors for teachers who were assisted by what we call practice teachers now, right. It was a West Texas State Teachers College at that time.
So that actually for Geneva would have been a great experience too, because being taught in that type of environment.
It was a great experience, and she just absorbed it like a sponge.
Yeah.
So,
and it gave her love of reading, I bet.
Love of reading, yes.
She was a voracious reader, as are you. You're also a voracious reader.
All of her instructors furnished her with a lot of books, and she read voraciously. Yeah.
And that's one reason why you decided the old ed building to donate the money to rename it in her honor.
Yes. Something I've been wanting to do for probably 25 plus years. And finally, the stars got aligned where it could be done.
Right.
As far as the university getting the finances to redo the building, and then as far as our personal finances, getting those arranged where we could do that.
That's wonderful.
So this is a family deal.
It is. Well, it sounds like, but I think that everything, the way you look at life is a family deal. I watch you interact with the students and with all the athletes, and you treat them as just extended members of your family.
Well, they all are, in my estimation, yes.
Yes. You must get an awful lot of Christmas cards or Christmas emails or texts or everything.
A lot.
A lot, yes. So when you decided to come to WT, what was your major?
My major was accounting, and from day one, I had an excellent accounting teacher in high school and stimulated me to go into that area. So I came in to major in accounting and never wavered from that.
That's great.
And so back to Geneva, we actually got married right out of high school.
Okay.
We were two kids. So we graduated in May of 1951, and I turned 18 May the 13th, and she turned 18 June the 17th. And we were married June 22nd.
Wow. Okay.
By eloping to Clovis, Texas.
There you go.
Clovis, New Mexico. And got married. And then we enrolled in college, and we had our first child, Jackie, in August of the next year, 1952. And then we would arrange our classes where when one of us was coming out of class, we would exchange Jackie on the steps of Old Main, and the other one go to class. And, it wasn't easy, but, it was just what we had to do. And we both wanted to get an education. So.
But that really says a lot about you as an individual, but also as a couple. I mean, you both really it was always family first, and what would be best for the family is everyone having a college degree and then also starting your family. So the idea, I mean, I can see you and Geneva on the steps of Old Main, passing off Jackie, and then going home and doing your accounting homework while she's in her classes. Yeah. That's really shows a lot of dedication to doing that. And you graduated on time, right? You didn't take any extra hours.
Yeah, we took the 4-year program, not the 5-year program.
Exactly. So 4-year program, and with kids, that's really quite amazing to do that. So that's obviously got to be a fun memory, because I'm watching you tell that story. I can tell that you can see you and Geneva standing there on the steps with Jackie. But what would be another story from that time that you remember?
Gosh, it's hard. There's a lot of
There's
things.
A lot.
But, probably the best memory is some of the teachers that I had, particularly my accounting professor, William F. Haggard, was just a super accounting teacher, and I would swear that he had that book memorized, that accounting book. He'd say, "Well, Mr. Schaeffer, if you look on page 374, right, third paragraph, you'll find the answer to that question." So I'd swear he had that accounting.
Wow.
Karen Brock and Simons, that book.
Really? Wow. So that's amazing. So he's a storied professor of this time. What do you think? What were the characteristics that made him such a good professor? And because you really invest in the professors of today, but I think you probably look for what you saw in him, in the people you support now.
Well, he was real practical in his approach, and he was the type of professor that if you came to class unprepared, which I did a time or two, he would not embarrass you, but I'll guarantee you before the class was over, you would know that lesson backwards and forwards. But he was just that type of professor. He's one that you wanted to do well for.
That's great. That's great. I like the fact that you stress that he's practical, because that also tells you how much WT has a focus for career and employment and really getting people ready for their adult life.
Yes, and in my estimation, WT still has that. I mean, that legacy has continued on.
Right. So tell me about the time you had to take like a psychology class, or
when we entered the university, of course, we were assigned a counselor to help us, and my counselor was, we had to take a IQ test plus a placement type test, aptitude test, I believe. But anyway, we had to go in and counsel with him after these tests, and he looked at the results and he turned to me and said, "Mr. Schaeffer, I believe you can do or be whatever you want to." So that has always stayed with me, the fact that he had that confidence that I had the ability to do what I needed to do and what I could do in life.
It's a wonderful story, and what a boost of confidence to give to someone at age 18.
Absolutely.
Newly married and all that. That's a wonderful thing to do. So you had mentioned before that someone with the Geneva back in Canyon High, then I always think of Geneva as such an intelligent woman and would never get in her way because she was a force to be reckoned with. But
She was.
you have a story about an individual who.
Yeah, in Canyon High School, she had a principal who put in her file that she would not amount to anything. So, in other words, basically, don't spend any time with this young lady because she's going to fail. And she found that out the first year she was out of high school and started college. So that just added stimulus to her as far as if anybody told her she couldn't do something.
Oh, she was going to do it.
Show
oh my gosh, I can't imagine that. But again, those two stories for me, it shows just how one, you can really build somebody up with just a quick phrase or a quick statement, and then the other one is. So we have to. That's a great lesson. Is that we have to be careful what we say to people.
Yeah,
because
sometimes people don't realize the impact that from a person who is an instructor or a person in authority has on that individual. It can either build you up or can tear you down.
So you are always an individual that builds people up. That's very clear to me. So how has that sort of mantra? How have you sort of lived that?
Well, of course, I've got a lot of my molding as far as my character in life from my dad. And my dad always imparted to me, treat someone else how you would like to be treated. Of course, he had a multitude of sayings, always leave a place better than when you came. And if you're going to do something at all, do it right. Yeah. So, I could go on and on with those, but they were all good principles to live by, and I've just tried to follow that through my life.
So when you and Geneva began to really make when you and Geneva really began to make a donation effect at WT, how did you decide to do that, and how did you decide what your approach was going to be? Well,
Geneva was one that had all these ideas and projects that she wanted to do. So she was the idea person. I was just the facilitator and the financier. So, she would get these ideas, and she'd be sitting there and I'd be standing behind her, and she'd look up, "We can do that, can't we, Stanley?" I just kind of roll my eyes. Yeah, we can do it.
We can do it.
Because the ideas were all good ideas, good projects.
Yes, they were. They were. But what's always I found to be interesting, and what I think has been most valuable to not just the College of Business, but to WT as a whole, is that many of your gifts are what I think of as the leading gift. You're the first person through the door. Whether it's the Schaeffer classroom here in the College of Business, whether it's the Schaeffer professorship, whether even here we are in this studio, this comes through you. So you're always the first through the door, willing to do something. And how do you decide which projects to do? And you get everybody else to come along with you. I'll say that.
Well, that's a characteristic I picked up from Geneva. You could not say no to her. I mean, she sometimes I think she should have been a Baptist preacher or something to make the call for the donations. But anyway, she was just one that, and the ideas were all good, like I said, but she was just one you couldn't say no to. But we kind of did pick and choose our projects where we thought there was a need for those projects, or some department or some individual that we wanted to support in the university.
And you still take a family view, don't you? Because once you
it's a family deal.
Yeah. Because everyone I know that you've ever donated to or given to or helped, you always include them as part of your family. So.
Yeah. And fortunately, the family has gotten on board with us. I mean, they pitch in with these projects. They're just as enthusiastic about the projects as we are.
Right. How would you, now you're well known for your love of WT sports. So if we made you pick one sport over the other, can you do it or not?
There's no way I can pick. Don't put me on the spot. It's whatever sport is in season at
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
So,
And you love to travel with the teams?
yes.
Yes.
We travel to whatever games we
Mhm.
can.
Yeah. So what would be a favorite memory for one of those with athletes?
Probably last year, the winning the national championship softball team
Mhm.
in Denver, Colorado. Probably, anytime you number one in the nation, that's a favorite memory.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. That was certainly a wonderful event and honor. So looking forward now, what's your, you've just done so many donations with the new Geneva Schaeffer, the building, and then with the athletic facilities and things along those lines. So how do you see the future of WT?
Oh, I think WT has a very bright future, an excellent future. I might digress a little bit here, but back in the mid 90s, there's a group of us, and it was the Peels and the Baines
Mhm.
in our family decided that we were going to embark on a mission to basically change the face of the university as far as the Canyon community and the Amarillo community were concerned. So we embarked on that and had a lot of functions in Amarillo to invite Amarillo people and try to get them included or to come into the WT family. And just this last year, I feel like we have finally gotten to that point.
So 25-year plan.
It turned out to be a 25-year plan, yes.
But that is amazing,
Mhm.
and thank you for that. I am a recipient of that, as are all my students. So we appreciate that.
We always felt like that West Texas was basically the hidden jewel of the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what we WT contributed to the Panhandle, and as far as what they had to offer the students who attended WT, we just felt like it was a hidden jewel, and the story needed to be told, needed to go public. In a sense, nothing against Amarillo, but the perception, the attitude in those years was that, yes, you're valuable to us, but you just go ahead and do what you need to do as far as being a university and furnish us what we need as far as graduates, and you just stay in your place. Well, we felt like there was a story that needed to be told, and they needed to embrace us and include us more so than they were doing. So that's what we set out to do. And like I say, I feel like at this point, maybe we've accomplished this.
I would definitely say that. But I love your word choice there, the idea of embracing. Again, you're back to the family.
Mm-hmm.
So for you when you start a project, you look at it as this is an extension of my family, and you approach it and everyone as family members. And I think that leads to one of the reasons you've been so successful in business and just throughout your life, is because you treat everyone as a member of your family. Fair dealings. You are one of the most honest individuals I've ever met, Mr. Schaeffer.
Well,
you
thank
are
you.
Very fair, very honest. Let's just switch just a little bit. So you had you love to travel. You love to travel. So what would be one of your favorite trips?
Well, probably the most recent favorite trip was a trip to Normandy, Paris and Normandy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
Right.
And so we were fortunate to be out there during that time. and it was probably my favorite trip because we kind of retraced the steps that my dad had walked during World War One and World War Two, and so we did some research. Got a firm to do some research, and they researched his military history and where he had served in what areas. And we kind of retraced those steps as far as Normandy and France were concerned.
So that's amazing. And your father was in both World War One and World War Two. That's quite unique.
It was unique, to say the least. He went into World War One when he was 32 years old. And he went into World War II when he was 54 years old, although the maximum age for induction into World War II was 44.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to say this, he lied about his age.
It's a good story, so let's go ahead and let you tell that story.
Okay. When World War II started after December the 7th, in February of December the 7th, 1941, in February of 1942, he and a friend of his caught a bus at the corner drugstore in Happy, Texas, and went to Lubbock to enlist. And by the way, he left a note on the steering wheel for my mom, and the friend of his told this, and so I know it's true, that he said, "Gone to war, love, Pop," and left it under the windshield wiper. So the next day, my mom was looking for my dad. Back then, he didn't have a phone or anything. So someone said, "Well, his pickup's parked at Happy, Texas," so they found the note. But anyway, they went to the recruiting station in Lubbock, Texas, and wanted to enlist. My dad had false teeth at the time. So what do you want to, what branch of the service do you want to join? He said, in the infantry. And the recruiter looked up to my dad and said, "Well, you hadn't got any teeth." And he said, "The heck I don't." And he pulled his teeth out of his pocket and put them in. And he said, "Besides that, I'm going over to shoot them, not bite them." He did use a little more colorful language than that. But anyway, they let him enlist into the infantry. He looked very young for his age, other than the fact that he had the false teeth. So he served in the medical corps during World War II.
That's wonderful. That's quite a history. And that's quite a gift that he gave your family. You know, that's a tremendous service and love for country.
My dad was a very patriotic individual. He was so patriotic that he thought paying income tax was he thought that was a blessing. You know. So,
we need more of those. We need a lot more of those.
I don't think we feel quite that way today.
No, might be a little higher number now.
So after we graduated from college, I might continue on if you want me to. But
yes.
Anyway, I went to work in Amarillo for Pioneer Natural Gas.
Okay.
And I'm kind of digressing here, but they were in that aluminum-clad building where I think the police department is now.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But I went to work as a plant accountant, and I worked for Pioneer Natural Gas for 2 years. And I started out at a salary of $295 a month. You know.
Okay.
And of course, money went a little farther then, but it was difficult to support a family of 5 on $295 a month. Well, in 3 months I got a raise to 3 1/4, you know. But then I got the opportunity to move to Houston to work for an oil and gas man named Silver Dollar Jim West. So for $500 a month. So I thought I'd really rung the bell. So we moved to Houston, and Geneva taught school, and I worked for him for 18 months till he passed away, and they were closing down his estate. Then I got a call from a friend in King, and did I want to come back to the Panhandle? And well, it was a very opportune time, and he had opened a E.T. Cummings, certified public accountant King, had opened an office in Dimmitt, and they needed a resident manager who was a CPA. So I latched onto that opportunity and drove into Dimmitt October the 28th, 1958, in the midst of a dirt storm and ginning cotton. And I looked at Steve and I said, gosh, I don't know what I've gotten us into. But anyway, we went on and thrived in that environment and practiced accounting for 45 years as a public accountant in Dimmitt. And during that time, of course, I had the opportunity to make get acquainted with a number of great individuals through my accounting practice, and got a lot of opportunities presented to me to make some investments, and so to enable me to be able to do what I'm doing today.
So always a stair step. You're always moving up the steps.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, through that, I had a individual tell me early on, said always, he said two things: you are who you associate with, and that always stuck with me. And we need to pass that along to all of our young students too. You are who you associate with. And number two, he said, always associate yourself with good people, and you will be successful. And so I've always tried to follow that mantra. And not to say I haven't made some mistakes. I've made some mistakes, but I've kept the overall balance above that tipping point, and so it's all good.
Is there one industry that you just won't invest in because you've had bad luck?
Grocery business.
Oh, grocery business.
Grocery store.
Too low a margin?
A number of things. So. For any business to be successful, you have to have a good manager and a good people in place, and that was one that we didn't have. And we learned a lot. I mean, from every failure, you learn something, but it's all a constant learning process throughout your life.
Right.
So,
if you could give one piece of advice to the students of today, what would you give them?
I would take advantage of your education. Get all you can while you're going to college. And college is not, the education is not the solution to all the problems, but it's what you do with that education after you exit. So take advantage of your time, take advantage of the resources that you have available, and which I realize is difficult for 18, 19-year-old sometimes to comprehend, but there are a lot of resources out there and a lot of people that want to help you. You've got, just a ton of help if you will call on it. So,
right. Yeah, education is the tool to solve the problems.
It's a tool, yeah.
Exactly.
The old adage, you learn it one way and do it another way. So, but the thing is, you learn how to do it.
So what would be one thing that you think the students of today maybe worry about or focus on that in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter? As you said, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. So.
Well, it seems like with a lot of kids, everything is a crisis, Just don't look at it that way. Look at the overall picture. I mean, it's not all. So, the things that you perceive as being important sometimes they're not so important,
So what's on the agenda for Mr. Schaeffer for now going forward? Because like you said, you fully implemented the 25-year plan that Geneva and you, along with the Peels and the Bains, crafted in the mid-1990s. So what's the next 25 years hold?
Yeah. Thank you. I hope I'm here 25. But the odds are I won't be. But anyway, the plan is to keep going, keep involved, and keep doing what I can as far as the university and as far as the community is concerned. So, I mean, that's the grand scheme of things. Just just move forward.
Keep going forward. So I'd like to take a moment to say one thing, that when you and Geneva opened your arms to Neil and myself when we were new faculty members here, and then also when Neil was that first dean, that was incredibly important and valuable to us. And I learned a lot from you, and I learned a lot from Geneva. Actually, I modeled a lot of how I conduct myself after Geneva, and I would watch her. Maybe stalk her, but I would watch her, and as she would do things, then I would learn why she did that and how she did it. And I asked her and Helen and Barbara a million questions as I was trying to learn from them, and they were always more than willing to do that, and I appreciate that. And you were such a good listener and gave such great advice to Neil, and so I sincerely appreciate that. That's your. When I look back on our careers, then the Schaeffers and the Peels and the Bains, but the Schaeffers in particular, you're right there at the start for us, and you gave us that boost up. So if you're talking about stepping upstairs, you reached out your hand to Neil and to me, and you helped us up those first set of stairs. And so I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was our honor to be able to do it.
Well,
so
it's very kind of you.
I don't know, we just, I don't know, somebody used the term the other day describing Geneva as far as education. She had a contagious passion, and I thought that was a very good description.
That is contagious passion, and very creative. I would say that one of my favorite memories, there's lots of them. One of mine would be all those tantalizing tables. Do you remember the tantalizing tables fundraiser? I've never seen anybody make, there was like the feather dusters. She decorated with feather dusters and tumbleweeds, and it looked fantastic. And I always would go to those and think that if you handed me 5 tumbleweeds and 5 feather dusters, it would look like 5 tumbleweeds and 5. It looked like, Mount Canyon out here, but she had a way of turning it into something phenomenal each and every time.
Yeah, that was a fun project.
Those were fun projects, very fun. So what was another fun project for you?
Well, there's a lot of projects she had through the years. One that comes to mind immediately is the Girl Power.
Oh, uh-huh.
We had that for 2 years.
Yes.
Which was to empower young women to come forward and use their full potential.
Right.
We had that. And I remember some other, we had American Idol. Do you remember that?
Yes.
West Texas Idol.
West Texas Idol. Those were fun. Yeah.
We had a lot of projects.
Yeah, those were lots of fun projects.
Fun projects.
Yes.
And all those projects were, the goal was not only to help the kids, get the kids involved and help them build their character and their self-esteem, but they were all designed to raise money for scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So basically all of them have a scholarship following name in the name of that particular project. Yeah.
Well, you and Geneva certainly lead by doing. You've done that your entire life, and that is it's an amazing legacy that you leave us. So thank you very much, Mr. Schaeffer, and you get to have the final word. So you get the final words.
The university, as far as I'm concerned, and Geneva was concerned, basically is probably the second love of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just it gave us the tools to do what we needed to do and be successful in life. So we always felt like, and I still feel like that you need to give back to the people who helped you get to the place you are now in life, and West Texas certainly helped me be successful in life and gave me all the tools to get where I am today. And I just I don't know, I just have a deep love for WT. That's all I can say.
Well, that's it. That's perfect. And we have a deep love for you, Mr. Schaeffer.
Well,
thank you very much
you
for everything you've given us.
Thank you.